The social cognitive approach places more emphasis on learning and conscious cognitive processes.
The social cognitive approach actually has its roots in behaviorism. And originally behaviorists felt that it was kind of a stimulus response environment, that the environment gave us a stimulus and we responded to that stimulus. Behaviorists really took that approach because they wanted to only focus on those things that are observable.
One pioneer of the theory of behaviorism was famous American psychologist B.F. Skinner.
Skinner's theory highlighted the importance of the environment in influencing behavior, and then he made some methodological contributions, particularly using the single case design, where you vary environmental conditions and then you observe what effect that has on behavior. But he pushed environmentalism to the extreme, where the assumption was that our behavior is shaped and controlled by the environment.
Although several contemporary personality theorists have embraced the social cognitive approach to explaining personality, probably the most influential has been Albert Bandura.
Albert Bandura, although agreeing with that aspect of behaviorism, also added a piece, and that is the notion of observational learning. That we don't only have to learn by doing, we could learn by observing. So this notion of modeling had come into play. Later on, Bandura also added kind of a cognitive aspect. So his theory is kind of a social learning, social cognitive theory. And he's most famous for something that we call self-efficacy.
I treat self-efficacy as the foundation of human motivation and action. Unless people believe that they can exercise control by their actions, they have little incentive to act or to persevere in the face of difficulty. So whatever other factor may guide and motivate us, they're rooted in the core belief that we have the power to effect change by our actions. Now, human well-being and motivation and accomplishment really rely on an optimistic sense of efficacy.
Social cognitive theory says that the two most important ways of discovering our own efficacy are by actually doing something and through observation.
See, we come with very few inborn skills, and we have a long period of immaturity in which we have to acquire a tremendous range of complex skills. And so what we've evolved is an advanced capacity for observational learning that enables us to acquire competencies vicariously rather than having to go through this tortuous process. This becomes a very critical capacity. We also have the capacity for forethought. We can project into the future and organize our behavior. We set goals, we anticipate consequences to our behavior, we have plans, and this enables us to be self-regulators of our own behavior, and it gives us the capacity for self-directedness.
One of the aspects of Bandura's theory was that quite often we model ourselves after those people who are important to us, those people that we see as being similar to us. Mandela kind of looked at his life and from his recollections of his father. Nelson remembers his father being kind of stubborn and also being very strict. And he said of his father, and this is a quote from his book, Long Walk to Freedom, "He could be exceedingly stubborn, another trait that may unfortunately have been passed down from father to son." He sees these traits of his father's that actually had a great deal of relevance to how he changed a nation.
The first step Nelson Mandela took towards making a difference in his own life was to study law and become a lawyer, one of the few professions open to black South Africans at that time. It was while advocating for the civil rights of his people that he became politically active. Eventually, his political activities resulted in his being arrested.
He was arrested for sabotage and was put on trial for sabotage in a capital offense, and his life was at risk in this trial. Yet, during the trial, he defended himself, and very eloquently. He used the trial as a platform for expressing African views on the laws in South African society, and was actually allowed to speak at great length. The trial got international coverage, and that's really what made him a world figure, was what he had to say. during the trial, even though he knew that by defending himself as he was and not trying to get out of the charges, he admitted the charges, that he would be found guilty and very likely sentenced to death. As it happened, he was sentenced to a life imprisonment.
Once we adopt standards, we tend to do things that give us a sense of self-worth and self-satisfaction, and we refrain from behaving in ways that will bring self-censure. And so often our self-standards conflict with the social pressures for behavior, and in such cases it's not unusual for people to endure hardships or even punitive treatment rather than accede to what they regard as unjust or immoral.